what's up, guys? It's Morgan and Angie with The Shift from people pleasing to living and loving fully. Today, we are going to be talking about what is your payoff to people pleasing. We don't usually do things in our life for no reason. So many of us are people pleasing for some very specific reasons, and it may be reasons that you're not even aware of. And we're going to talk all about that today. Just like how our culture values outer resources versus inner resources, we value often a short-term fix as opposed to a long-term solution. So, follow me with this. People pleasing, one of the key symptoms of it is saying yes when we really want to say no. And if we're saying yes when we really want to say no, oftentimes it is a short-term solution that can lead to big trouble later on.
Right. We also call this a secondary benefit to something that's seemingly unpleasant or undesirable. Okay, a secondary benefit. And so I was just thinking about what you said about with people pleasing, that there's a payoff when we say yes and we really want to say no. They're like, why are we doing that? I'm going to answer that, but I also want to add one other element or aspect to this in just a second, to the people pleasing and why we do it. But there's instant gratification when we tell people yes, because we want them to like us, right? I mean, it may seem like common sense with this whole people pleasing thing, but we really want them to like us. We want them to not judge us. And so that instant gratification it feels good, because what it's doing is it's taking the pressure off of our back. Because there is pressure when there's an expectation upon us and we feel like we need to do something in order to be the peacekeeper of sorts. Yes?
Totally.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and a perfect little example of that is like if someone asks you to watch their kids or something on a certain day and you feel this expectation of, well, I have to watch her kids or she'll view me as not a nice person.
Right, right.
So,
and on some level, we don't see ourselves as a nice person.
Yeah, because if we really believed we were a nice person, we could probably say no and still feel good about ourselves. But we feel like we need to prove it in some respects. So I think that totally makes sense.
Right. And then the other thing that I was thinking about people pleasing is not only is one aspect we say yes when we really want to say no, but we don't really convey, like, let's just say you're in a friendship with somebody, okay? And they do something to upset you. This actually, I had my own personal issue last night come up with a friend group that I'm in, and you start to learn maybe that somebody said something about you or whatever, right? And the whole gossip piece of this came into the puzzle, and I realized like how just detrimental and damaging that gossip is, because it starts to place a seed of doubt in another person about another person, right? And it's so damaging because it's not really necessarily the truth at all, but it's how one perceives an individual. Like we tell ourselves a story about who someone is, whether it's true or not. We tell ourselves a story. To me, gossiping is a form of people pleasing. Okay. So when we gossip, what it's doing is it's juicy, isn't it? Like a lot of people find gossip very juicy to talk about someone behind their back. And it's almost like it lifts their sense of self-importance when they do it. And they also gossip in order to gain approval, or what's the word I want to say? It's like they're trying to get someone on their side of weighing in on something, like agree with me in this so that I will feel better about myself. So they talk to someone else about someone else to get, you see what I'm saying? And and it's just really, really damaging. And that form of dishonest communication is a form of disrespect that so many of us have, and it's rampant in our culture, and it's so hurtful. Okay. And so the cost is hurting other people. The payoff is that temporary short-term fix of building ourselves up, but it's falsely building ourselves up. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally, totally. And there are so many payoffs to people pleasing, and that's why we do it. Oftentimes, we want love, we want acceptance, we want to feel like people agree with us. So we will say or do what we think other people want us to say or do, including gossiping, including saying yes when we don't want to say no, including avoiding confrontation. And all of this is a payoff,
Right.
but it's a short-term payoff, because in
Yes.
the long term, gossiping destroys relationships. In the long term, saying yes all the time builds resentment and destroys relationships. In the long term, trying to be
Right.
something to someone else and not really being yourself destroys relationships. So again, these are short-term fixes to try to make us feel better about ourselves, when really, what's the real solution here? The real solution is feel good about yourself because you can. And it's not always
Hmm.
easy to do, because a lot of us have never been taught how to feel good about ourselves. So,
That would be boasting, right? If we felt good about ourselves, that would be boastful and arrogant and prideful and on and on.
right, it's noble to people please. It's less selfish to people please, when
Hmm.
ironically, again, self love empowers you to actually be more accepting of yourself and everyone else, whereas people pleasing drives disconnection and it destroys relationships. So, this is something that you'll hear us talk about
Right.
over and over again, because it's such a big deal. And it's so important to recognize
It
these
is.
things now before it's too late, because a lot of times we don't really realize what's going on.
It's like there's a blind spot for sure.
Thank you guys for watching this video. Please comment down below, what are your payoffs to people pleasing, and why maybe you would like to come up with better payoffs and stop people pleasing. Again, please subscribe to our channel for more tips and tricks on how to really move past this people pleasing habit and actually start to be you and love you and everyone for exactly the way you are. This has been Morgan and Angie with the shift from people pleasing to living and loving fully. We'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.